Well, welcome to this special episode of the Comics Multiverse in conjunction with ComicWatch.com and our Crowdfunder Corner. Um, Today, my guests are some special guests who are local to me and who I've had the uh, honor of meeting through our local comic Albany Comic Con. And they have a crowdfunder campaign currently going on Kickstarter, Thunderbunny, and I'm sorry, what's the other word? I mean,
Packrat and Thunderbunny.
Yes, but these are two of the guys who I've having been on the Albany, upstate New York comic scene for probably about 15 years, and I've got to know these guys pretty well, and I've heard about this project for years, and it's great to finally have them here and talking about their crowdfunder or their Kickstarter, which is actually funded.
Yeah.
And so, before we get into talking about the backstory behind that, each of you, what is your history with comics? I mean, what was your first? Do you remember the first comic that you read, or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
what got you hooked on this crazy addictive hobby?
I know I started collecting comics when I was right around 7 when we moved to Nassau. And my friend Steve, his grandmother owned a store called Delaney's. And she would get comic books. And I remember getting like ElfQuest #1 and Alpha Flight #1. And I was so excited because they were, cheap. And I could use my paper route money and I could buy comic books and then penny candy and just go read. I was drawn to the X-Men. Nightcrawler was my favorite, and Spider-Man for Marvel. And then on Aquaman was DC until like the mid '80s when Blue Devil came out, and then he became my favorite superhero. Oh,
Yeah.
I like the underdogs.
Yeah. And my first comic, I think the first comic I ever bought with like my own money. I say my own money. It was, whatever, an allowance. And it certainly wasn't making money. But I was probably, again, let's see, would have been 75. So I would have been 6 or 7 years old. And it was, again, I probably bought it at Delaney's as well. But it was one of those sort of 2-in-1 comics that had Captain America and Iron Man, the 2-in-1. I forgot what they were called. It's like Marvel Premiere or Marvel
Fanfare.
I forgot what it was called. But this was the reprints. So it was called Marvel Double Feature.
Yeah.
So it's from the comics in the 60s, but this was in the 70s. And it was the one that showed Captain America fighting Red Skull, and Red Skull's holding the cosmic cube, and it was such an epic cover, and I was just drawn to it, and I still own it. I still have it. It's beat to hell because I probably read that thing more times than I can count. And then from then I just collected mostly Marvel. I was a Marvel guy. And that went from, when I was probably maybe 8 years old, that might have been 76, until I entered high school. And the biggest regret of my life is I said, I don't want to be that guy collecting comic books in high school. So I quit. And I didn't get back into it until 2014. So I missed all the 90s. And most of the 2000s just collecting. I lived vicariously through Derek. He was collecting, and he would tell me what was happening, and and Derek would go to all the shows and come back with all these commissions, mostly of Blue Devil, and I would we would sit down and just go through all the drawings, and then one day he comes and offers me a commission that he got done of Thunderbunny, and then I was hooked, and I started going to the shows with him, and and here we are now with the release of the comic.
Yeah, it started out, I'd get him like Moon Knight or Power Man or some of his favorites. I would just get drawings for him, and then he had lost his bridge.
Yeah.
So he sent me this picture of him smiling, like that, with missing the tooth. So my friend Chris Uminga, our friend Chris Uminga now, when I saw him in Philadelphia, I said, "Hey, I need you to draw me a picture, and you need to use this face." And I handed him my phone with John's face, with him, the big grin, missing the tooth. And so he was like, "Oh my God, I'm in." So he drew this picture of Thunderbunny, and he also did one of the first Packrats for me, So it was really nice. But yeah, I would get those things drawn for John. And he, like I said, he lived through me through comic books, and I tell him, "Yeah, this is good. This kind of sucks. This is really good. This kind of sucks. Oh, they killed Blue Devil again."
Well, I remember a day when I was at your house and you showed me one of the Lobo comics, and this would have been mid '90s, maybe. I mean, we started hanging out again in '92, I think, or 94, 92, 94.
Yeah, 92 was when we started with Fred, and then 94 was when we did our thing.
Yeah, all right. So it was around that time, and I was blown away by the quality of the paper, the quality of the colors,
the swearing,
yeah, like the adult themes that were in it. I mean, I was used to the almost like a dot matrix printing with the 3 color schemes from the 70s and the early 80s. Like that was my comic collecting, and then suddenly it was like, what is this? These are gorgeous. I couldn't believe it. And the adult themes of Lobo blew me away. I'm like, I can't believe they're getting away with this.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I know, running into you guys at the various Albany, New York Comic Cons, and seeing the different sketches that you've got. Well, what are the origins of these characters? I mean, it's just. I know the story, but I want to hear you guys tell it and hear.
It's convoluted. Because I created Packrat when I was like 10, so I was in 7th grade, 6th grade. And I used to draw pictures of him, but so I had him in my head. Packrat was my nickname when I was a kid because I was little. I was only 5'3" as a freshman, and I was a Packrat. I'm still a Packrat, and so I had him all this. And then when I met John when I was a freshman, he was a senior. We started playing Marvel superheroes. So that was the first time I created Packrat. And the way John and I did it was random. Yeah. We rolled randomly for everything, except I don't think I did it for height and weight and stuff like that. But John did it for literally everything. Whatever there was a roll for, he did it for that. Yeah. So Packrat, I mean, I'll let John tell his, origin of Thunderbunny. Packrat, the powers I rolled. Now, Packrat was my combination of Nightcrawler and Spider-Man because they were my favorites. So I wanted someone acrobatic, strong, kind of wise-assy, and furry, with a tail, because I like that kind of stuff. And so then the powers that I rolled, he had animal transformation, and then I rolled really well so he could turn into like a dragon. And I had body transformation. I rolled again a natural 00, 100, and he could turn into solid adamantium, which is what Wolverine's skeleton is. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. He had a tail, he had leaping, and I think enhanced sense. I know. So I rolled a couple things that were right, but I was like, this is really weird, So I just had my character Packrat with powers that made no sense with him, and I was like, all right, I'll run with it.
Right.
So then John, he's like, all right, let me make up my guy.
Yeah. So when I rolled, he ended up having he weighed 380 pounds. He was 5'3". He had a low intelligence. I remember I rolled under 10, which he was kind of slow. Then he had lightning speed, density control, self, and like gravity manipulation. But it was
self again.
I don't know if it was self. I think it was just gravity control or something. And I was like looking at it going, what do I do with these mix of powers? And I thought about it for a second. I said, all right, all that weight is not muscle, it's fat. And he turns himself hard as a diamond, and he'll run at lightning speed into people. And he's dressed in a pink bunny suit, and I'm going to call him Thunderbunny. Like, the amount of time I took to tell you that was about the amount of time I took in creating that character. And when I came in, like we had a mutual friend who was running the game master, this guy named Mark, who was in 11th grade at that time. So he was older than Derek, but younger than me. And I showed up with, I think all of the other guys on there were freshmen, weren't they? Or was another?
No, I was the only freshman.
Oh, but I thought Steve's not a freshman.
Steve was a year or two ahead of me. Jeff Haynes was another one. He was a couple years ahead of me.
All right. So I show up. They've already been playing the game with their characters. And I vaguely remember you guys struggling with a band of villains that were based off of some sort of rock band.
Yeah.
And then I show up with Thunderbunny. And the thing about the Marvel superhero role-playing game is that on the back of the booklet, there's a chart for your damage that you roll. And when you charge someone, you move the damage thing one thing over. So because that's all I was doing, he was incredibly powerful. And I was wiping out guys fast. And they were just like all excited. One, because I was probably a senior, so they're excited to play with a senior. And two, because I was defeating the bad guys or helping them defeat the bad guys. So then they're like, dude, you need to be the leader of this group. And I'm like, this guy's like stupid. He's not intelligent. I can't do that. So then Mark decided to come up with an idea that I will take all of our characters and we'll go up to the moon and we'll fight a big battle royale. And the idea was to fight until all of our characters died or lost. So then he would take our character sheets, convert them to villains, and we would make new guys and fight our old heroes as villains, because he was having trouble throwing stuff at us.
Yeah, he couldn't, with Packrat being able to turn solid adamantium and Thunderbunny going hard as diamond and super fast, we were literally untouchable. We couldn't get hurt.
Yeah.
So we kept winning everything.
Yeah. So he struggled. So we had this big battle on the moon, and he threw everything at us. And all the other guys were dropping out. And then Derek and I were the last two. I remember that for sure.
Yep.
And I rolled a 1 on my attack, and I said, "Oh, he missed." So the guy said, "All right, so you missed the attack. You crash into a moon mountain." And I went, "Oh, all right. He's too stupid to find his way out. He's trapped in there. Here's my character sheet. All right, we're done with that." And then Derek won the battle.
Yeah, I beat the last bad guy, and then the main bad guy that set it all up was just like, ugh. So he took all the fallen heroes and the fallen villains and teleported them all home and left Packrat on the moon and left Thunderbunny in the mountain on the moon.
Right.
And that's where that Packrat ended.
Yep.
And
honestly, that's kind of where Thunderbunny left, because shortly we never did make new characters. I think we played some D&D and some other
we did
games.
D&D. Yeah, we went to Dungeons and Dragons.
And then I graduated. I went to my undergraduate school up in Potsdam for archaeology. And I never thought on the character again. I hadn't seen Derek in those 4 years. I mean, Derek was this little kids.
5'3".
Like when you're in high school and you're a senior and you're a freshman, there's this big age gap, right? So it's this. I kind of like whatever, and I won't say I dismissed him, but I probably did in my head.
It was more, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy. And John's like, no, you don't. You're a Weasley little freshman.
Yeah,
you don't know any of these people.
Little wise mouth, little Weasley little freshman. But my parents, my parents, we grew up together in the village of Nassau, up in Rensselaer County, and my parents moved one street over onto the street that his parents lived. So they bought a new house. I lived one street away, so we didn't have a lot of contact. So one day I'm just there on the street and I see this big hulking guy walking down the street, and he's like, John, and I look and it took a moment. I'm like, Derek? Like, what? I'm looking up at him. I'm like, what the hell happened to you? Like, in the 4 years he had his growth spurt. It was amazing.
Yeah, I went from 5'3" to 5'11" between my junior and senior year. Well, after. Oh, go ahead, John.
Oh no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, when he graduated, we went back to Marvel Superheroes when I was a junior or a sophomore. So I made Packrat the way I wanted him to be. And we played with him through the years, and then Mark graduated, and then I would run some games, and then everyone else graduated. So then I just got my brothers, and then they were playing with me. And then it kind of just died out. And then, 92, my mom lived on Elm Street where John had moved to, John's parents had moved to. My dad lived on Griswold on the other side of the village. It's a 5-minute walk. And I was walking to my friend Fred's house to go play Dungeons and Dragons. And that's when I saw John in the driveway at his new house. And I was like, John? And I was like, oh my God, hey, how are you? And he's like, I'm good. He goes, what the hell happened to you? And I was like, oh yeah, they took me off my asthma meds and I grew 8 inches last summer. It was crazy. So then,
that's pretty much how when I see Derek in the Cumberland Farms, is like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so John's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to play D&D. I was like, you want to come play? And he goes, let me grab my dice. Yeah. And that's where we started our friendship again. And shortly thereafter, we became best friends. And just, we played D&D. Oh my God, that summer was amazing. The summer of 92.
Yeah.
It just.
Yeah, because it was between me coming home from college before I had a job and before I actually went to graduate school. And it was you had just graduated high school or were about to.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a job either. Neither did Fred. So we had nothing to do.
Yeah.
And literally we would play Dungeons and Dragons from, I don't know, 2:00 in the afternoon to 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we'd stumble home. I'd crash on the couch. I wouldn't even go up to my room.
Yeah. Sleep for a few hours.
Go back and do it again. We had one guy who had a job and he worked at McDonald's. So he would leave to go do his shift, and he closed McDonald's. So whenever he came back, he would always bring the food that was left over under the heat lamps.
This box of old McDonald's food.
And at first we were like, oh, this is awesome. And we'd eat everything. And then we found out, do not eat Big Macs that have been under a heat lamp for 3 hours.
No.
And the miasma of gas fart stink in that room was
brutal.
It was brutal. But it was a way to join and become best friends.
Yep. Pretty sure it took years off our lives.
If I have cancer, I'll know why.
So, I mean, we've, so far we've established, your guys' relationship. So tell me about this first issue that you guys are crowdfunding, and
what happened really was when we made the characters, we never thought anything of it. And I would then, when I switched from Blue Devil and started getting Packrat drawn, and then I'd get Thunderbunny ones, and then people were like, well, what's the story behind these two? And then I had since gotten John to come to some of the shows with me. And so we would talk about them, and we got talking to people, and I think it was 17 or 18.
17.
17. They people were like, I want to read this comic book now. You should write this, and John and I were getting together every Saturday playing video games all day, playing D&D, and we're, playing video games one day, whatever, in 2017, and, hit pause, and I looked at him, and he looked, and I was like, we should write a comic. And he goes, I was just thinking that. We should write a comic book. So then we just started throwing ideas around, and he's like, well, what should we do? And I was like, well, we should deal with the two Packrats. So we created the two universes. There's the Thunderbunny universe, and then there's the Packrat universe. So in the Thunderbunny, I don't want to give too much away, because
of course
it's all in this. But Packrat and Thunderbunny in that universe, the Thunderbunny universe, are best friends. I mean, they were born in the same hospital room together. Their moms gave birth to them, and in that universe, all powers are random. So the superheroes and the supervillains are going to be hysterical. And that's what we're hoping to visit at some point in this series, is to go to the Thunderbunny universe. Yeah. But it takes place after that moon battle that John and I were just talking about, where Packrat and Thunderbunny is, well, John, after Potsdam, he went to Newfoundland. Yeah. And we were writing St. John's in Newfoundland, and we were writing letters back and forth. Like, I mean, this is pre-cell phones. We weren't calling each other because of long distance. And so then we were writing letters. Now, these letters started out kind of small and then turned into between 16 to 25 page letters, where we're putting Dungeons and Dragons runes on the outside of the letters. My mom wouldn't mail it that way because I had, fingerus up the butticus and things like that. She's like, nope. She had to put it in a different envelope. And, through those letters, I brought Thunderbunny and Packrat from the moon back home.
Yeah, because it started with those letters that we would write about our D&D characters as if they were real people. Yeah. Oh, I ran into so-and-so, and then this crazy thing happened. And then he would write back, and then we would continue the story back and forth. So those early letters turned into these 20-page epics. Yeah. And then one day he writes, I was in my backyard, and this pink meteorite crashed, and I went to go investigate, and standing in the crater back from the moon is Packrat and Thunderbunny. And I was like, oh, Thunderbunny, holy crap, I forgot all about that guy. Yeah. So that was in 92, and then in 2014 is when he got the first commission for me. Yeah. Right? So we would get these commissions, and every time we would talk about the characters and describe them to the artists, they inevitably said, we need to read this comic now. Right? So that's when we said, why don't we? Yeah. But then we were like, well, how do you write a script? Like, I never written a comic book script before. So I just went on Amazon and I bought a bunch of books on how to write comic book scripts. There's one by Stan Lee. There's one by, what's his face? Scott
McCloud.
And Scott McCloud. That's another one.
Denny O'Neil,
the DC one he did. And then there was another
because I think John had 4 of them. I read 3 of them. There was only one that I didn't read out of the 4.
I think it was the Scott McCloud one, actually, because the other one was written by some other, I don't know where it is anymore, some other dude who's actually a college professor that teaches sequential art. You can get a degree in it down in Louisiana or Indiana or something. I forgot where it was. So, but I took all these notes, and it was like, you write it in a certain way. It's like the first three-story arc, they say, right? Mm-hmm. So the first part of it was the first 5 pages of the comic, and you introduce the heroes and you introduce the threat, and then the next 11 pages is the increase of building with the threat and reaching the climax. And then the last 6 pages for a 22-page comic is the culmination of that climax and maybe sort of an epilogue to sort of continue the story along. So I wrote 3 paragraphs using the idea that we have these 2 characters, and we decided to do it in a way that let's have the the second Packrat that he created, the one that is based on the character that he always wanted in his world. And then Thunderbunny shows up and he's like, "Hey, my best friend," and he doesn't know who he is because it's from we won't. That first comic, you won't know that they're from different universes. That comes out later
on.
But for now, it was a way to introduce the characters to themselves as well as introduce the characters to the readers.
Yep.
And,
talking about introduce, I mean, being kind of new to the upstate New York comic book scene, and being a regular at the Albany Comic Con, that's how I met you guys. And I think I met Derek because you were very pivotal in with Justin's when he needed
the fundraiser.
The fundraiser, and and then I ran into John at the just at various the different tables, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I had this Thunderbunny." I was like, "Who's Thunderbunny?" He's like, "Well, let me tell you about Thunderbunny." I was like, "Well," he's like, "We're writing comics." Like, "Well, when you write a comic, let me know about it, and we'll help you spread the word." And but
so we ended up having professionals look at the script. Ron Mars was an early reader.
Ron Mars, great guy.
And in fact, he was an easy sell to help, because we just offered to pay for a dinner, and then we bought him dinner, and then he read the script for us. It was great.
You could buy him a couple of drinks, and I'm sure he would.
Right.
So, but he offered some great stuff. He said, you should move this part more in the middle, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then later on, there was a Kickstarter that Richard Dueck did. And it was a Kickstarter for excuse me, I'm losing my voice. It was a Kickstarter for an all digital comic release for something, but one of the tiers was that he would read a comic script. So I chose that one, sent it to him. He gave some great advice, because he was like, "It looked like you have 3 endings here. So maybe you should get rid of one or whatever." And I chose to get rid of 2. They're going to be at the beginning of the next comic. So we ended at a humorous one as opposed to ending at a cliffhanger one.
Right.
And then, which allowed to free up some pages so we could expand a little more and slow some of the stuff down and add some panels, and it worked out great. I think they did a good job.
And I mean, I don't know if you guys planned this, but I know you guys are big on the East Coast convention scene, because I know you guys have go to like Baltimore Con, and I know that Charles McKelvey. Yes.
Charlie.
Yeah. One of the guys I hope I've been trying to get an interview with, but I mean, it seems like you guys have a lot of support for not only from our group, that from the Capital District, from John's Comic Con that he does, but you guys have a lot of support from the different creators. And I know that, I mean, I remember running into John at one of the shows and saying, he's like, "Oh yeah, this is a picture of Thunderbunny."
Because that was incredibly addicting to go up to people, give them money, and say, "Hey, draw a fat guy in a pink bunny suit with a lightning bolt on his chest and use my face." And then they do something, and it was like, this is amazing.
Oh yeah.
And then we ran into Ryan Brown, who did a headshot for us and put these googly eyes on Thunderbunny.
Great guy.
I was like, that's perfect. That's going to be a standard now from then on the comic. And then you know, and so we make a joke in it that because Derek used my face, suddenly Thunderbunny became me. So when I created him, he wasn't me. It was just a
No.
character. It wasn't like, but now it's sort of me. It's sort of a big guy with a beard, and you know, I have my bridge in, but I have a gap in my teeth, and he wears glasses. You know, so it turned into me, which is weird but fun. So then, in one of the scenes in the comic, because it takes place on the moon, which was when I was in high school, we made sure that our artist Nate Lovett drew him without a beard because I didn't have a beard in high school.
Yeah.
And then when he comes out of the moon mountain, he has his beard showing the stretch of time that he was trapped there. So, you know, I don't know if people will catch that, but I thought
Oh, that's one of my questions, because I love promoting Kickstarters. How did you guys kind of go from this idea that you guys had to getting somebody to actually translate it to the visual?
Well, like I said, we wrote the script. It went through 11.
Yeah, 11
drafts.
rewrites. Yeah, rough drafts. Yeah,
it took a long time. So I think we started in 2017, but by June of 2018, we were done. And we had asked Ryan Brown to be our artist because we really loved his style.
Yeah, I was someone I told John about. I don't think he had met him at that point.
I don't remember. I mean, the first time I met him was at Albany.
Yeah, and did we lose Chad?
I don't know.
Still here. I'm just muting.
All right. Okay. All right.
So keep talking.
Yeah. So I had said that I really liked Ryan. He had done I surprised John with a Thunderbunny from Ryan. I think it was the one running through the water.
Yeah, that was the first one. The headshot, though.
Oh, that was ours. So the headshot was first. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan was my first pick, and then just things. His dad passed away, and it was rough on Rye. And then I liked Nate Lovett, and John had Ian
Chase Nichols.
Ian Nichols Chase. Ian Chase Nichols.
Yeah, Ian Chase.
Yeah. Awesome artist, awesome guy. Very excited about it. But things, as sometimes happen, didn't work out well. And then, I had Nate do another drawing of Packrat, and then he did one of Thunderbunny for John. And it was like, we were like, yeah, I think that. And John's like, yep, okay, we're in. This is it. Let's do it.
Yeah. And
we talked to Nate, and Nate penciled, inked, and colored everything. So it was very easy that he did the three things.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Chicago, go ahead.
And we paid for everything out of pocket. Like, we set up a contract with him, and we paid. Was it $200 a paycheck basically?
It was $200 or $250.
Yeah, I can't remember now, but it took over a year to pay off everything.
Yeah,
he was willing to do that with us.
Yeah, and then I was in Chicago 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years. And we didn't have anyone to letter it. Nate said he could do it. But he didn't, he wasn't, he's like, it's not something I'm best at or whatever, I was like, all right, well, and I was just talking, and I ran into Tom Zoller, who I'd known for years. And, he asked, he would ask, people would always ask, hey, how's it going? How's it going? And we're like, yeah, we're getting it drawn now. We're getting it, and I said, yeah, we need a letterer. And he goes, when I first came up, I lettered. And I went, oh, you want to letter our comic book? And he goes, I would love to. So I texted John and I said, hey, I got a letterer. And he goes, what? I'm like, yeah, Tom Zoller wants to do it. And he goes, holy crap. Yeah, he's like, holy crap. So, we sent Tom the stuff, and he did an awesome job.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job.
That's cool, because you have somebody who has some name recognition, willing to help people who are indie creators who have an idea that they enjoy, and that It gives me a warm feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, me too. It was just like serendipitous, honestly, the way things came together. Tom was awesome. One of John and I's closest friends, Steve Conley, he did the Packrat and Thunderbunny logo.
Yeah, he designed it for us.
Yeah, I think the only thing I asked was, "Hey, can you throw a tail in there?" Because he put the Y for the bunny ears for Thunderbunny. And I was like, "Hey, can you work a tail in there?" And he goes, "Oh my God, absolutely." And then, he made the Packrat a little furry, and then Thunderbunny. I loved it.
Yeah.
So then we asked him when we came up with Best Bud Comics. And I was like, yeah, let's do it with 2 Ks, Komiks. And John's like, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, because we're best friends, it's like we wanted our own little brand. And it was just like, how about Best Bud Comics? And he's like, yep, I'm in. And again, we asked Steve, and Steve came up with the logo of John and I standing back to back with my hair and his beard and his glasses. And so I'll always be like, when I show people, I'm like, yeah, I'm the one with the beard and the glasses. And they're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
These are the stories that I love about people, who love the medium, who are, friends who are able to come together to create something that they both enjoy. And it's also great to see that you guys are connected into the indie creator.
Oh my God. Well, it helps that John and I are both huge Kickstarter people. I think I've now backed 778 or 79.
Yeah.
John is encroaching on 700.
Yeah.
So it's something that we love doing. The fact that we can help bring someone's dream and make it possible, make their comic book come to life.
Yeah.
I mean, I just met for the first time, and it was awesome. Bixby Grant was the name of it. He's a mummy private investigator, and I loved everything about this. Supported the first one. He just launched his second one.
Yeah, I backed it already.
Yeah, me too. Patrick, I can't think of his last name. Patrick Cowsley? Bixby Grant, Mummy Private Eye. He's amazing. It's an amazing book. And that's what John and I love seeing is like when we go to these shows, we're meeting people that, oh my God, hey, we backed this. Oh, I backed this. I backed this. I backed this. And whatever I didn't, John did. It's like we'd go and we'd meet these people and they're like, oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that was with Charlie McKelvey, that name you brought up earlier. His writing partner, Vito, we met him a couple years ago in Baltimore because our friend Dean Haspiel actually said, hey, check out his stuff. So we went around, we started talking to Charlie, and Charlie's going through his, this is my character, Spider Squirrel, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm looking at it, and he's talking about it. I'm just looking at the covers, and I went, was this on Kickstarter? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I'm pretty sure I backed this. In fact, I know I backed it. And Vito, who was just sitting down, and he was really not even part of he was just kind of, whatever. And he looked up and looked right at me, and he goes, I did all the rewards. I sent them all out. What's your name? And I said, oh, Derek J. Bush. And he went, what? And I was like, Derek J. Bush. And he goes, holy crap. And I went, what? He goes, you bought all the covers. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know. And he goes, and he turns to Charlie. He goes, he bought all the covers. And it literally, I mean, Charlie was already being wicked friendly. We were already bonding. But at that moment, we became brothers. It was like it was like, oh my God. And then while we were talking about that, John is like, I just backed it on Kickstarter,
just standing there with my phone.
Standing there on his phone, and he backed it, and it was just amazing. The amount of love that we get from Charlie, his amazing wife, Suzanne, Vito, it's outstanding, and one of the cool things that I don't know how we could show it, but when he did issue 3 of Spider Squirrel, Packrat and Thunderbunny are on the cover.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we found out that they are the only two superheroes on that cover. Now, this was done in an homage to Crisis on Infinite Earths when Supergirl died and Superman's holding her in his arms and he's crying.
Yeah, and all the superheroes are up around.
And Packrat and Thunderbunny are the only two out of the 40 some odd superheroes that weren't created by Charlie.
Yeah. I thought he was putting all his friends on there.
Yeah. Nope, we were the only ones.
I couldn't believe it. What an honor. So we put him in our comic.
Yeah, so we spoiler alert. Yeah, Trash Panda, Spider Squirrel, they might be in our book.
It's not a spoiler. It's on the Kickstarter.
It is. It's on the Kickstarter. They're on there.
I think it's awesome that you guys are, you guys have made these connections. I mean, not only, I know that in the capital, region with, through the con that John Belsky puts on, he brings in a lot of, of the local artists. But
yeah,
I mean, Derek, honestly, when I put together the Krowdfunder corner for Comic Watch, I look at my emails and it's like, what has Derek backed?
Yeah.
How jealous am I that there's that expendable
income.
Money that
well, John and I joke about how future us curses past us quite often, because past us is like, yeah, you know what? We'll be able to pay for this in the future. Yeah. And then it's like, oh crap, I really overextended myself here. And
because I had a big burst recently and I was farther behind him, and then I caught up pretty close, and he was like, holy crap, how the hell did you catch up so quickly?
I was like, you almost caught up to me.
How did you catch up so quickly? I just said irresponsibility.
And it nailed it. Couldn't have been a better answer. Yeah, it was in Baltimore when we were at the Baltimore show.
Yeah.
He said, oh yeah, I'm up to 600 and something. And I went, what? I was like, how'd you catch up to me? And he just looked and goes, irresponsibility. Nailed it.
Well, as somebody who has limited finances, but the wanting to make sure that everybody who's the indie creators who are putting together a project, Derek, you are my go-to person for ideas.
Well, thank you. I love it. I love the whole idea of Kickstarter. I just think it's wonderful, because honestly, without that, I don't know how John and I would have done it.
Well,
I don't think we would have. I don't think it would have occurred to us that it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of one of the questions I like to ask is, why Kickstarter, and what has been your experience being this is your first campaign?
We funded in 4 hours.
Yeah, under 4 hours.
In under 4
I
hours.
helped.
Thank you.
You did.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then by the end of that day, because we launched it on October 11th.
My birthday.
At
11:11. I think John just froze. Or did I freeze?
No, you're coming through.
All right. We launched it at 11:11. You still there, John? All right, you froze.
I know. Yeah. My internet's been doing that.
We launched it at 11:11, and then it was like 10 of 3. We hit our goal.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. And I'm talking to John. We're texting back and forth. It was addicting watching it, because he's like, dude, we got 5 backers. Oh, we got 10 backers. Oh my God. And it was just climbing. Yeah. And I had to say, Justin, got to give him mad props. He was our number one. He was our first backer.
Yeah.
I tried. I asked Kickstarter to send me an email, but
it just happened to me with Gus Vasquez. He just started one too, and I was the second backer, and I was like, I missed it.
I was the 5th.
Oh, were you? Nice.
5th or 6th. I can't remember.
But so when then John, we were talking all day, texting back and forth, calling each other because we were like little kids. I was Chad. It was amazing that just that feeling that, I mean, we knew we had support. People talked about us. One of the coolest things 2 years ago at Baltimore was when John and I were getting commissions, setting up commissions, and the person said, Packrat Thunderbunny, I don't know those heroes. And Todd DeZago was behind us. And he goes,
great guy.
Amazing guy. Very, very good friend of ours. We love Todd. And he goes, yeah, you may not know them now, but when they drop, you'll know it.
Yeah.
And it was just, I read his comic books. I read his Spider-Man. I read his Impulse. I read his, all of his stuff I read and was like, oh my God, his Perhaponaut stuff. And I went, this is one of my idols. And he is treating us like equals, and John and I, we've talked about that, the imposter syndrome, where, this Chris Campana, after it got funded and all this stuff, he wished me, hey, congratulations. And he said, welcome to the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Chris, I mean, Chris is one of those guys that, I know he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
But he's persevered and he's definitely getting his due.
Oh yeah. Chris I've been friends with since I was going to the Philly conventions. And that was before I was going to the Baltimore ones. And I've only missed the one from COVID, and then I missed the first one. I missed one from COVID, and then John and I just couldn't go one year because, money wise, we tried, but we both had to bail the week before. Just couldn't afford it. So, I mean, out of the 24 years, I've been to 21 of them, I think. And I knew Chris at the Philadelphia ones before I was going to Baltimore. So it's been a long time.
I forget how I actually met Chris, but it was about the time that he was doing the Parker Reef, stuff.
Oh yeah.
And, which was obviously very personal for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's one of the artists that I've kind of followed that I'm glad to see finally coming into their own.
Yeah, I know. And he did cover C, alternate cover C for us.
Yeah.
That's his work.
But that's, again, we're running absolutely longer than but this is fine because the conversation is, it's flowing natural. But it's just great to see how you guys have been able to, use the connections that you guys have honestly made with these artists and other creators to get your vision to come to life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a cool moment in Baltimore this past show. Carl Moline, who did cover D for us, gave me the cover while I was in Baltimore, and then he gave John a commission of Thunderbunny he did a couple years ago, and I just kept forgetting to send him.
It's this one here.
Yep. And so we were standing there and we were talking to, I want to say she was an assistant to Chris Claremont.
Yes.
And she's like, ooh, what is that? So I'm telling her the story, and John and I are talking about Packrat Thunderbunny, and Chris, who's signing comic books, looks over like this, and looks at us, looks at them, and kind of shakes his head, goes, like that. And I was like, just kind of.
And you held the thing just so he could see
I even angled it so he could look at it, and we've joked with Frank Cho a little bit, like, maybe you'll do a cover for us someday, and he's like, yeah, maybe, so.
Hold on. Thunderbunny with a big ass, ass.
Yeah. We will tap into Frank Cho's luscious drawings of Thunderbunny. Yeah, it's been amazing. Really,
and I'm sorry because I know this is something that you guys have been like, working on for years. How I can just imagine how it feels to kind of see this thing come to fruition.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like having a child. Honestly, there's an amazing amount of pride.
Yeah.
But there's a little trepidation. Like, what are we
Oh,
getting
yeah.
into, right?
Yeah.
But Derek and I are in our 50s. We're looking at future retirement, right?
Mhm.
Where we could just slide into being comic creators,
Yeah.
and honestly not have to worry about the grind of having to make money to survive. We can just do
Right.
this for the fun of it because we'll have pensions, right?
Yeah.
We both
Yeah.
work for the state. We'll have a decent retirement. So
Yeah.
State workers unite.
yes,
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
I mean, I've got almost 28 years. John's in 30,
32, yeah,
32 years. So
16.
yeah,
see, look at that. You're coming up on your 20.
yeah,
That's great. It's amazing.
yeah. But next year, I turned 55, so technically I could retire if I wanted to.
Give me a sign that we all live in upstate New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I wasn't planning on retiring, but if this takes off, it looks more and more appealing, honestly. So
Yeah, we'd like to think this might have happened sooner, but COVID set back things a lot.
It did.
Obviously, without not being able to talk to the artists and not being able to do all this stuff and shows being canceled and so, but it just feels like this was the right time. It just things, like I said, very serendipitous, fell into place.
Yeah.
With Nate being available. Yeah, you know what? I'm in with running into Tom, who I've talked to at Baltimore and all this stuff, but didn't know that he was a letterer. I knew he had his own stuff that John and I both supported, and then for him to just say, I was a letterer, and then boom, we have a letterer. And then I, asked, hey, you want to draw a cover? I'll draw a cover. I'll draw a cover. And Ryan, after all the stuff that happened with him, when we saw him in Baltimore a couple of years ago, it was like, hey, you know what? I'd love it if you could do a cover. And he was just like, absolutely. He goes, I'm in.
Yeah.
So
Ryan is good people. I've definitely
and when he
talked to him a couple of times.
Yeah, and when he agreed to it, I think he did that cover within like 2 days. He was that
excited. Easily, yeah. He
Yeah.
actually pushed other commissions that he had, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm starting. I started it already." I'm like, "You did?" And he goes, "Yeah. You want to see what I got so far?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then he had it done. I think John's right. I think he had it done in 2 days.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, this was amazing." He said, "I had so much fun."
Yeah.
Oh, and we should thank Dash Martin too for coloring 2 of the covers for us.
Yeah.
And then without letting us know or even saying, "Oh, hey, by the way, I did this one. Oh, and this one." I was like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, because Ryan said, "Oh, I'll get my my colorer to do it," and he had Dash do it, but it didn't register the name until I was doing the Kickstarter to build the campaign, and I wanted to give credit, but Chris Campana was like, "Oh, I'll have Dash do it," and so I wrote to him and said, "Oh, Chris asked me to send you this and blah 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 blah," and he never wrote back to me and said, "Oh, I already did a Thunderbunny and a Packrat."
Right, I know these guys or anything.
Like nothing, no, whatever. And then I went back to Ryan, like, "Hey, what was that guy's name?" So I can give him proper credit. And he said, "Oh, it's Dash Martin." I meant
Dash Martin.
That son of a bitch didn't mention nothing. I was like, all right.
Yeah, nothing. So it's like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I colored 2 of your covers for you."
Yeah. That was too funny.
Yeah.
But he did a great job. Yeah.
I've obviously kept you guys almost 30 minutes too long than I originally asked you to join me, and I appreciate it because when I was writing for the blog for the Times Union, one of my goals was to spotlight both the well-known creators but also indie creators in the capital district, and luckily through the Albany Comic Con shows, I was able to meet you guys,
Yeah.
and I was able to, I really, got to know Derek through his when we were talking about the um, fundraiser for Justin,
Oh yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and all the local creators that you were able to get on board with that fundraiser, which was
Yeah, that was amazing. Reaching out to friends of mine and seeing if they would donate drawing, and I got, oh my God, there was so much, Chad, so much. And then John and I kept winning it all.
I know.
Like the first 5 or 6 of them, it was like, oh wait, that's my number, because I bought a bunch of tickets. John bought a bunch of tickets,
Yeah.
and it was like this number. I was like, oh, I won the first 3 in a row, and then John won 2, and then I won another one. So then I was like, wait a minute. I asked my friend Neil King to do this, and he donated all these drawings. So I was like, here, pull another number, and it was John. So I was like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, but yeah, all the guys that I talked to, it was amazing. The support for Justin. Justin's an awesome kid, and he's been through a lot of crap, and the fact that I could make his, life, and John and I could make his life even a little bit easier, and these artists and writers and all these guys, I mean, it was awesome. When I had those big cards, I don't know if you remember those. I just had 2 huge construction paper, or not construction, but just these huge. And I just went around and had people sign it, and then they were doing little headshots. Mark Teixeira was there, and Tex, and he did this amazing Joker, and Paul Harding, and I can't remember if it was Russ Braun, Mike Oppenheimer,
Joe Sinnott did.
Joe Sinnott. I went to Joe Sinnott and I said, hey, Joe. And he's like, hey, Derek, how are you? Shook his hand. Always. I love Joe. I miss Joe. And when I told him who it was for, I was like, my friend Justin, he goes, oh, I know him. And he, instead of just signing his name, he drew this cool headshot of thing on there.
Yeah.
And it was just that I have this amazing relationship with these people. And that now my best friend John has this amazing relationship. They're not my friends anymore. They're John's friends too. They're Justin's friends too. It's not. I don't have to go to these shows and be the one to talk to everybody. Now I'm not. John's like, yeah, and they're like, wow, John, you talk a lot. I didn't know you talked this much. He goes, well, Derek talks a lot, so
yeah, they refer to me as the quiet one.
Yeah,
I'm like, well, when you're standing next to Derek, he's the front man for sure.
Yeah, a little chatty.
Again, kind of being the outsider from coming into the upstate New York comic book scene, and you two are definitely the ones that kind of have been the ones that I've kind of glad to have met, and I'm glad we were able to promote the stuff for Justin, because that was a great that was very. I like it when the comics community does more than just
when it comes together.
Yeah. No, that meant a lot to me, and I know it meant a lot to Justin. I know it meant a lot to Justin, and we'll still talk about it, and it's just, and now, I mean, even when he was going to Baltimore, now he hasn't been to the shows for a while. He's careful, he's smart about it.
Yeah. But
the last show that I got him to go to, he was having so much trouble. He could walk 10, 15, 20 feet, and then, all right, we need to take a break. And I was like, absolutely. The year before, we sat more, and I would sit with him, and he goes, you don't have to do this. I'm like, no, we're here together. So I sat with him, and we talked, and we did all this stuff. And then I convinced him, my dad had lost both legs from diabetes. So I had his wheelchair, so I brought it, and I pushed him everywhere. And we met everybody, and we had the best time. And he said, thank you for that. He didn't want to do it, but he did. And it just made it better for him. And now, of course, he's doing amazing. I mean, he's married.
And-
He's got an awesome wife. He's got a dog sitting business. He's just, John and I are so proud of him.
Yeah.
You know, he's just an amazing
and
kid.
it was just nice to see that, you know, I guess the upstate New York, you know,
Yeah.
comic book creator community. I mean, Nicole Jelnick, Kevin Conrad, Richard Clark.
Yep,
I mean,
Keith Haugen.
I could keep, you know, I could name, you know, a lot of people and still forget people. And,
I know.
and,
It's crazy.
You could blame my head, not my heart.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to, you know, to see how much of an impact that, you know, both of you guys have made, both in the creative realm of the comic book area, but also within the community as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been amazing. And, you know, feelings mutual, Chad. I'm glad that we got to meet you and talk to you and be friends with you. And it's awesome. And the fact that you're doing this and having us on here is outstanding.
Yeah,
and someone who, like, you know, randomly asked you a question in Cumberland Farms.
I know, right? And look at us now.
But no, this honestly, when I was initially asked to do the blog for the Times Union, our local newspaper, as a comics blog, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to not only spotlight the well-known creators that people may know, but also the indie creators that are kind of pursuing their dreams and, you know, doing what they need to do to, you know,
well, that's our goal.
Fulfill that niche.
And that's our goal, is for us to become well-known.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've made some inroads in the professional field. I would think a lot of the professionals
Oh,
know
no,
who we are.
you have.
But now we need to make the inroads to the general public. So
no, I think, honestly, you know, it really warmed my heart to see the fact that your Kickstarter funded so rapidly.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh right. My thing shut down. I never finished.
Kickstarter, yeah.
So we funded in the first 4 hours.
Yeah.
But by 9:30 that night, we had already reached 100 backers, which is, as anyone that does the Kickstarters knows, that's often a big goal to reach.
Yeah.
And some of them struggle to get 100 backers in the month that they're running the campaign. And then at 9:40, we got the email from Kickstarter that said that we were given the moniker "The Project We Love," which, when we were talking with Rich Woodall, who plays D&D with us online, he lives
great
in
guy, great guy,
very great. I've been friends with him for a long, long time.
Yeah, he said,
I met him at the Albany Con. You know, that one show that was in our area for 2 years.
Yeah. But Rich said, I've done 4 Kickstarters and I've not gotten the projects we love from them.
Yeah.
So I was just like, holy crap. Like, talk about imposter syndrome, really. Like, who the hell are we to get all these accolades? Like, this is our first comic script, and we get projects we love. We get funded in 4 hours. We get 100 backers. It blows my mind.
It could be, in my opinion, because I know that you guys have put in the groundwork and you put in all the work. You know, you guys deserve anything, you know, accolades from Kickstarter that you guys get.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks.
It definitely helped diminish some of that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But I know it'll go away when people get their hands on it and they enjoy it as much as we do. You know,
I don't know.
No, because if we get feedback, that's good. And people are like, oh, I laughed. Oh, I can't wait for the next one. It was really funny. Because, I mean, just going through it and proofreading it after the letterings, I found myself chuckling and rewrote the damn thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm laughing at my own, and I was saying to some people, like, either that means it's funny, or I have an overinflated sense of my own humor. But I don't think that's the case. I think it actually is funny, and I think people will enjoy it. I'm excited for people to read it.
That's the one thing with John and I is my brain is often described as terrifying, and I can create and create and create and create. And John is able to take what I spew and put it into words.
Yeah.
And he and I work so well together that it's if I think of something, he's got something too, and then we combine them together, and it's amazing. I mean, this first book, I love it. It's our kid. And I can't wait for other people to read it. I mean, I had a friend of mine read it who's never read a comic book before, and she was like, "This is really funny." This is and that's huge. Someone that's never read a comic book,
I love it.
it's nice. It's nice to hear Ron Mars, because I created the villains, these cool villains. And Ron Mars, the thing he told us, he goes, just be careful. Your villains aren't more interesting than your heroes. He goes, because these villains are pretty awesome. And I was like, oh my God, thanks, Ron. So
well,
it's
Ron
cool.
Ron knows what he's talking about. So
yes,
yeah, Ron's a good dude. We really enjoy all these friends that we've made from John's comic conventions and stuff like that. It's just we couldn't have done it without them.
You guys have honestly made a lot, and you guys have definitely laid the groundwork for getting people interested, getting these other creators interested in what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Well, it helps that we're nice guys too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And we like to support them.
And those checks under the table. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's that too. Nod, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, poke, poke.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we could go on for probably a couple more hours.
Oh,
talking,
I'm sure.
But so is this is the first issue. Is it like a series or?
Yes. Oh, so when I wrote those 3 paragraphs, right, I said, oh, okay, how do I convert these paragraphs that followed the 3-arc story into writing a script with each panel described? So the only way to do it was to take a little pad of paper, divide the page up into 6 panels per page, which is a lot of panels per page.
Yep.
And just draw little stick figures to describe what I wrote. So by the time I got to 8 pages in, which is beyond the 5 pages that first paragraph was, I was only like the second or third sentence. And I went, oh God, I wrote way more than one comic can fit in one comic. So it turned out that we think it'll be about 5 comics worth to run
maybe
the arc
6
of the story. Yeah,
maybe 6.
Yeah, so it's planned for 5. We're going to introduce a new character and some background in the next issue. Then in the 3rd issue, we're going to introduce a new character again, and we're going to discover about the 2 worlds then. And then the 4th issue, we're going to go to the Thunderbunny universe, and that might actually be
may turn into 2. Yeah, that may turn into 2 issues.
Right, we might actually do 2 issues in that.
Yeah,
we have a lot of ideas, so we'll have to see if we can fit it all in. And then the last issue will return back to the Packrat universe and defeat
the culmination.
The
yeah.
And then we have an amazing idea for the next one, which we're not going to talk about, but that'll probably come out as a massive
one shot
graphic novel instead of a series, I think. So
well, I know, and I don't want to keep you guys too long, and I know I try to keep these things like 30 minutes, but our conversation just kind of led to the extended version of this.
That
But,
happens to us a lot, Chad. Don't
That
worry about
no, that is great. I love it. But so as we wrap up, why don't the two of you kind of like summarize what the Kickstarter is about, what people who want to back it can get as their rewards.
Well, the Kickstarter and the money that we raised is ultimately just to cover the cost of printing.
Yeah.
Because we said earlier we paid out of pocket, everything was paid for. The comic is already drawn.
It's 100% done.
It's not 99% done.
99% done. We have an idea. Yeah.
We're actually going to add 4 pages to expand the moon battle. And one of the pledges levels is to have your own character in that
moon battle. Yeah.
Yeah. No one's picked it yet. It's a high cost, so we may reduce it, but we'll see. It's still early on. And then any money that gets raised beyond that, which at this stage we're already double our funding goal. So we're over 5,000 when we were only asking for 2,500, which would have covered the printing. Any money raised over that will be to pay for the next comic.
Issue 2.
If we can avoid paying out of pocket as much as we can, that's the secret goal, right?
Yeah.
But because it got funded, we were like, oh wow, we got to think about stretch goals, and we discussed it on Saturday. And the first stretch goal will be a pack of stickers.
Yep.
Because we want stickers ourselves.
We do. That's for us. We're purely selfish reasons.
I love stickers.
Yeah, and that's one of our friends. He's like, my kids would love stickers, and are like, all right, stickers were an idea we had. Bookmarks.
And Nate took the characters on the standard cover because they're both jumping, and they're overlapping on the cover, but he drew them all digitally, so they're individual, and he gave them for the idea of having stickers. So we said, well, we're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. We're going to do that, and then the next stretch goal will be bookmarks, because both Derek and I are avid readers, and we want bookmarks. And then the third stretch goal, we were going to offer like the free digital comic books for a downloadable bundle from a lot of other friends of ours who were willing to donate that first issue. It doesn't cost us anything, and you guys can get a bunch of free things.
Yeah, cool comics.
And then if we go even beyond, we'll start to put in a virgin version of the covers as prints.
Yeah.
But if we don't reach that anyways, we're going to offer that as an add-on.
Yeah, as print. We're going to try to do prints.
It'll be like $5 or something, plus a few dollars shipping. And then you can add them onto your pledge during the backer kit survey thing at the end. And I don't want to put it on now in case we do reach goals, and we can provide that for free. So I don't want to put that out there unless we can't give it for free by having stretch goals met. So that's what we got planned for anyone who might be interested.
Well, I mean, as someone who's kind of from a distance, saw your journey of these two characters. I am very excited that you guys are having this much success with your, the crowdfunding effort. And I'm, it's awesome to see you guys, have this success. And
thank you.
And anything that I can do to help, with future issues, and let me know. And
absolutely,
as we've gone past more than 40 minutes past my allotted, not that it's awesome to catch up with you guys, because there's not really a lot of time at the Albany Comic
Right.
Cons,
Yeah,
or our brief impromptu meetings at Cumberland Farms.
I know it. I know it. We're due for another one.
Right, we are. But it's awesome to see, you guys, having the success that you guys are having, and um, helping, being a small part of helping you guys get your vision and creation out to hopefully the public.
Yeah.
So, in kind of closing, if you want to kind of give a brief summary of why people should support the ongoing Kickstarter, and where they can find you guys on social media or whatever, then now's your time to pimp your stuff.
Well, I think honestly, it's our book is fun and it's funny and it's not angsty. It's about two best friends that love what they do. They love being superheroes. They love helping other people, and it just it's fun. It's funny. John and I are funny guys, and hopefully people will jump on it and enjoy it. I'm on Facebook, Derek J. Bush. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. John, I believe, is on all those. John Fletcher Pasquini.
Yeah. Twitter is John Fletch Pasquini because I couldn't fit all that. I have too many letters in my name for Twitter.
But yeah, we're both there. We're both there and on Facebook quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Twitter's X now or something, isn't it? Something.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's been a fun ride. I mean, this character Packrat has been in my head for 41 years. And then John, he was 17 when he created Thunderbunny.
18.
Or 18 rather. Sorry, he was 18. It's like,
well,
no, you were 17.
No, you're right. I would have been 17 because it would have been the beginning. It was in 1987, so it was that beginning of the end of the school year before my birthday in June. So
because I was 13.
Yeah,
because I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
But just to come from there to this, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of what I love about the comics book community, and that's I am so honored that I was able to meet you guys through the upstate Capital District region, New York, and even though I've had brief kind of awkward interactions with you guys.
I don't know if I'd go as far as awkward, but
I don't know if it was awkward, but
I'd go with brief. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's definitely awesome to see you guys, getting to see a vision that you guys have kind of been working on for years, and to see it kind of come to fruition. It's been an awesome experience, just for me as a bystander.
Great.
Thanks. I'm glad.
Yeah, I love it. If we can be an inspiration for others, then that's just the icing on the cake, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we can help somebody do what we did,
absolutely. Yeah.
You come find us.
And the industry as a whole will be better for it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah,
because this is what the industry needs. It needs people like the two of you who have, an idea that, is not corporately massaged.
Yeah.
Right.
Nope. That's just us.
That's great.
I'm sure that, you guys have, maybe a second issue or more in this series. So we can always, come back and, chat again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I expected this to go 45 minutes. We're almost an hour and 20 minutes,
Yeah.
which I love because, you guys are pretty cool, pretty cool. And I love seeing you guys at the shows locally and
Yeah.
random gas station
Yeah,
meetups.
random, non-awkward, brief meetings.
where I'm still wearing a mask and I go, "Hey, Derek," and he's like, "Oh, huh? Oh."
Yeah, I'm like, hey, mask-wearing person, and then you're like, look, oh, Chad, hey.
He's like, "It's like I have a Batman mask on. Come on."
Yeah, hey, Batman, nice to see you.
Anyway, again, guys, thank you for taking the time this evening to chat. And
Yeah.
again, this I will include this once again on the Comic Watch
Awesome.
Crowdfunder Corner, and
Yeah.
I'm
Send us the link. We'll start promoting it once.
Oh my God,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
definitely, and once you guys are famous, and maybe you'll still talk to me.
Well, of course we'll talk to you. You'll be our first interview always.
Right.
All right. Well, guys, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll see you at the at the show in November. I don't know.
We'll be there last October 29th, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in October.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Apparently, like John didn't contact me, to know that that's the same weekend as my wife's birthday. So.
Oh no! Well, happy birthday.
Yeah.
So, well, we'll definitely touch base. I mean, even if
Absolutely.
not, we'll get together and have I don't know if you guys drink, but we'll have a couple of drinks.
Sounds good.
Sure.
And again, thank you guys for taking the time, and best of luck on your first Kickstarter. And
Thanks.
we'll continue to promote it here on Comic Watch, and
Awesome.
I can fulfill my mission of promoting the local upstate New York creators, be they mainstream or just the indie creators. So
yeah, cool.
Awesome.
I want to thank you guys, and congratulations on the success you've had so far.
Yeah, thank you.
Your first Kickstarter.
That's
I
true.
know it.
This is
I know.
This is just the beginning, man.
That's it. Read Packrat Thunderbunny #1. It doesn't suck.
That's right. That's a great tagline. Love it.
Just remember just remember me when you're like big shot comic writers, and
we'll bring you with us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, always a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll definitely have to do this again sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
sounds good to me. Awesome.
Thanks.
All right.
Chad.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.